Hi, I'm Dave Orban, and this is my painting, Yellow Biplane with Colonial Chair in Green. Based in Trenton, New Jersey, my focus for the last several years have been on still life paintings of unusual combinations of antique toys, hand tools, and balloons, carefully arranged and lit with theatrical, colorful lighting. My formal education began in 1973 at Mercer County Community College in West Windsor, New Jersey, where I studied with Mel Leipzig and Frank Rivera. That was followed by a brief stint at Trenton State College, now known as the College of New Jersey, where I studied with Hiroshi Murata and Wendell Brooks. I eventually transferred up to Brooklyn College, where I studied with Philip Pearlstein, Lois Dodd, Sam Gelber, and Al Terrace, and eventually received my BA and MFA degrees in painting. In the late 1980s and early 90s, I exhibited regularly in regional and New York City galleries, mostly large-scale paintings of figures in interiors, many of which had implied narratives. Over time, I shifted to smaller still life paintings, adapting some of the toys and tools and balloons imagery that I had used in the figure paintings. Around 1992, I stopped painting entirely and focused on career and family. In 2010, upon receiving an invitation to participate in a 30th anniversary show at Blue Mountain Gallery in New York, I began to paint again, picking up pretty much where I had left off with my still life paintings. Since then, I have continued to paint regularly, carving out time between work, family, and my musical endeavors as a band leader in the Mojo Gypsies, a jazz blues combo that I founded back in 1998. In much of my work over the last 40 years, I've concentrated on the interplay of unusual collections of objects in contrived, artificially lit interior settings. This stems from projects that I had developed when I was teaching to undergraduate classes, in which I sought to teach students how to see with their eyes and not with their brain. For example, a student sees a chair and has a tendency to render all four legs on a horizontal plane, regardless of whether they can even see them all. Or they might see a still life with a white drape in it and invariably start out with gobs of white paint in order to render the white of the drape. But the reality is that the drape is anything but white. It might be a middle gray value. It might be tinged with reflected or ambient light. In order to illustrate this concept, I began to set up very elaborate still lifes for the classes, even suspending objects from the ceiling with wire or fishing line. The idea there was to force the student to look at the shape as a shape as opposed to a functional object. And what this did was force them to look at the spatial relationships between each other by adding colorful theatrical lighting to this mix. I was able to get the students to focus on how the colors related to each other, as opposed to, it's a brown chair, but all of a sudden it's got a green light shining on it, so now it's a green chair. So again, the idea is to force the student to think about things in terms of how they look, how they appear with each other. Over time, I became very interested in this process and started to adapt it to my own work. Initially in large-scale paintings of nudes in interiors, and then eventually scaling down to smaller still life paintings. I like the juxtaposition of playful objects, particularly balloons and antique toys that I've collected over the years, as well as hand tools and machine parts. I spend a great deal of time thinking about the setup and carefully rearranging it to create interesting juxtapositions, to create interesting forms of both positive and negative space. And then I begin to light the setting with artificial light. Sometimes it's colored lights, greens and reds and blues, sometimes not. But what I do with the light is try to also create drama through shadows and angles of how the light flows across the objects. Color is also a very primary consideration. While I tend to choose objects that are colorful in and of themselves, by adding intense theatrical lighting and colored lights, I can enhance or even change the color further, while at the same time creating interesting shapes and shadows. I try to find a balance between achieving a realistic rendering and allowing the physicality of the paint and the process of painting to remain visible. While it may look very realistic from a distance, as you get closer to it, you can see that it's artificial. It's painted. It's not doesn't aspire to be a photographic representation. There's no implied narrative in these current paintings, allowing each viewer to respond to them in their own unique way. Thanks for watching.